What's up? It's your boy KB, and this is Maybe You Needed to Hear This Today. Today is Mother's Day, 2026, and Mother's Day has always been a tough one for me since my mother passed away in 2006. So this January, actually, that just passed was 20 years. I know that that always made it really tough in my relationships too. To the mother, because you go through all this stuff with a partner and have children, and on that day that it's supposed to be about them, like I just never ever did a good job, and a lot of it's just me being making excuses, for a long time instead of just dealing with it and processing it and trying to, it's just a day. Today is definitely one of the better ones, but I've obviously managing, and paying close attention to my emotions and stuff, and, what I'm doing, and, trying to stay positive. And that's cool. It's a beautiful day. I just had a few days off. I'm kind of mad at myself for not making more videos, but kind of had like a chest thing going on, and by the grace of God, it didn't get worse, because with how many cigarettes I've smoked and stuff, it's I usually can get a pretty bad case of bronchitis at least once every 2 years. And it kind of started to feel like that taste, like I was sick, and then it just it peaked at just oh man, and then it stopped, because usually those things, if it'll hit in 24 hours, once it starts, it doesn't usually stop. It goes from oh man, I think I'm sick, to oh shit, I'm really coughing up stuff, Anyway, was kind of still on the end of that, but I'm definitely better enough to at least, So I guess, this is kind of about grief. And it really is just time, unfortunately. I've talked to a few people that I consider close to me, who have experienced very, very big losses. And I'm no stranger to death. I've been to many funerals. I've sang at so many funerals, eulogies and stuff, pretty much all my grandparents now. Yeah. Yeah, all my grandparents are gone. And, and that's fine. And I have amazing memories and lots of pictures. And unfortunately, we're really on the wrong end of that, because they're good, their souls are free, into the whatever. And, I don't have any idea what is next. I don't think anybody could actually really tell you, or, weird. I personally just don't think that human beings are capable of really understanding the true gravity of what's going on, and what what reality and stuff is. Our brains aren't capable of truly, we can try really, really, really hard, and we're definitely going to continue to learn a lot of stuff, with, the progress of AI and quantum computing. But the one thing that I saw recently of the scientists that are like trying to figure out like what reality is. They're like, it's essentially like a virtual reality headset that somebody is wearing, but we don't know who. And that's like a really weird way to put it. I don't know. Not that this is about that, but I think that that's pretty wild. I mean, just like with quantum mechanics and everything, like all, you know, particles acting like waves, or photons having properties of both waves and particles. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, check out the double slit experiment. It's really cool. And tons of people have talked about it and done different shows and science shows about it. You can definitely, I suggest that you should do that. But again, time is really the only thing that really you have. It sucks, but you have to experience every moment of it. And if you like try to cover it up with, substances and whatnot, you kind of just like prolong it, I guess. When you push stuff down and you don't process it, it really messes you up, later in life. That's what I've learned, at least, learning how to process stuff. Like I don't have the one thing that used to kind of like numb, some of the social stuff, like when somebody makes like a shitty comment to you or whatever, and maybe it most of the time you can let it like roll off your back, but like maybe it kind of hits you in a vulnerable place, and like you can't like lash out and be that'd be stupid. And one thing that I always try and think about, I heard this Buddhist teaching of how, or maybe Hindi, but how if somebody says something negative to you, and or tries to put you down, and like how that's, well, first off, that's a deal about them, you know what I mean, that's their problem, like whenever people are happy, and which means you too, you know what I mean, like whenever you're like, yeah, like really being aggressive and yelling at somebody, like what is really your deal, like there's something go, then you need to like stop and check yourself, but whenever you don't do that and you just keep going, I forget what I was saying. Anyway. Oh, yeah. If somebody says something negative to you, you can think of it as like an object, Like, hey, this is my cynicism that I confuse with intelligence, that I confuse with being intelligent, and I'm just kind of being a negative asshole. And if you don't accept it, like you don't have to accept it. I don't have to take it from you. Like just because you said that doesn't mean I need to take it now and walk around with it. You know what I mean? I can lay that on the ground and just not carry it home with me. And that's kind of how you gotta take that stuff, kind of like the water and the duck, quack quack. yeah, not having, that thing that numbed you a little bit, or gave you a fake sense of social confidence. I can't imagine how many times I was halfway to July, Three Ways to the Wind, and I thought I was doing something really cool. And everybody's just looking at me like, look at this idiot. I can probably think of a couple. But I mean, again, it's processing what's going on, and that means going through the bad things and learning to sit with it and trying to understand like why your brain is feeling that way. And I mean, losing a partner, somebody that you really love, I mean, granted, I've had a couple breakups, but that's a kind of a different kind of grieving, but it's still grieving the loss. And I mean, and that was horrible. And unfortunately, that's just kind of part of what it is. So I guess, the point is just know that there is light on the other side, and if you continue to talk about how you feel, with people, there's so many resources now, and it's not like you even have to talk to somebody that has any answers. Like you don't necessarily need somebody. Sometimes you just need somebody to hear what you're saying, and then whenever you hear what you're saying out loud, you like, oh yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've just in talking to a counselor or a good friend or a trusted. Fortunately, I'd like to think I have a good circle of people that I'm always asking for advice. I do not trust myself. I love myself and I am proud of myself, but I do not trust my decision making by any means. I've made some really dumbass decisions. I've made some good ones though too, but I've made some really bad ones also. So I do like to, there's nothing wrong with trying to get some advice. It's not like, but you ask more than one person. Like you don't go to your best friend and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a car, and like if you like your answer is gonna be like that's not cool. That's like really deflecting responsibility. So then if something goes wrong, then you could be like, I can't believe and then resent that person. And I've seen people do that stuff. That's wild. It's thinking about I was just thinking about how back in the 80s and 90s, it was like you just accepted that if somebody was like a miserable asshole, just a toxic person, like you still just kind of had to like deal with them, and like that was that's Kevin or whatever, that's just how old I don't really want to say anything, but just that guy over there, that's how he acts, but we gotta still keep inviting him to vacation and all the birthday parties, and he says inappropriate stuff and really sucks my energy. but blah blah blah. I mean, I do believe in, you definitely have some loyalty to family, but I mean, I know I'm definitely, I have issues with, my sibling. I love her very much, but we unfortunately don't spend it really any time together. The only time I see her is whenever there's a funeral or something, and that's unfortunate. But I know today's probably tough for her too. I know that, my mom passing away. She was 16 when my mom passed away, and I know that that definitely really affected her. And there's a lot of other, it's crazy looking back on how different everything is now. It's, man, 20 years. My oldest daughter is about to be 16. It's crazy. But, so, yeah, I guess that's, maybe you needed to hear this today. I shaved. I'm gonna try and grow my beard out. I kind of wanted to just start over, give the goatee a head start, and I'm just gonna, we'll see. I forgot about the glasses. Oh well. All right. Thanks a lot. Subscribe if you want. Please don't leave negative comments. I don't know. Just trying to have a good time and be positive and talk about normal stuff, in life, just life, human stuff. So let's just keep it positive. All right. Thanks, guys.